my beloved child. Something is shifting in silence right now, and you can feel it even if you do not yet understand it. The person you love is standing at the edge of a moment that will divide their life into before and after. This is not a rumor. This is not imagination. This is the kind of turning point that only comes once, the kind people talk about years later and say, everything changed that day. They have been smiling around you, speaking normally, moving through routine, but inside them a decision has been growing quietly, feeding on thoughts they never shared, memories they never explained, and realizations they were afraid to name. Tonight, as you listen to this, they are closer to that decision than they have ever been before. Not because they want to shock you, but because they believe this step is the only way to stop the noise inside their heart. They are tired of pretending. Tired of choosing comfort over truth. Tired of being the version of themselves that everyone expects while their real self waits, unheard. You were not meant to hear this message by accident. You are here because your connection with them is deeper than you realize, deeper than words, deeper than distance, deeper than time. Something in your energy is already touching theirs, pulling this moment toward the surface. And if you stay with me until the end, you will understand why this step feels so shocking, why it feels so sudden, and why it is not truly sudden at all. This moment has been building for far longer than you think, and your role in it is more powerful than you have ever been told. Listen carefully now, because what I am about to say may unsettle you, but it will also explain everything you have been sensing. The person you love has been living with a secret crossroads inside them. On one side is the life they know, the safe path, the familiar faces, the predictable days. On the other side is a life that scares them, excites them, and calls to them in quiet moments when no one is watching. They have tried to silence that call. They have tried to be practical. They have tried to convince themselves that love means staying the same, staying still, staying acceptable. But something happened recently, something small on the surface, something others would ignore. A conversation. A delay. A missed chance. A sudden memory. And that small thing cracked open a realization they can no longer close. They saw, just for a second, a future where they never take this step, and the pain of that image was sharper than the fear of change. That is why this feels shocking. Because from the outside, nothing looks wrong. But from the inside, everything has been demanding a decision. They are not running away. They are running toward a version of themselves they have denied for too long. And here is the part that will stay with you. This step is connected to you, not in the way you fear, but in a way you have not yet imagined. Your presence in their life has been a mirror. When they look at you, they see honesty. When they hear your voice, they hear possibility. When they think of losing you, they feel the cost of staying the same. You did not cause this moment. You revealed it. There is a reason your thoughts keep drifting back to them, even when you try to focus on other things. There is a reason you feel a strange mix of closeness and distance at the same time. It is because their heart is already rehearsing the aftermath of this step. They are imagining who will stay. Who will leave. Who will understand. Who will never forgive. And somewhere in those thoughts, you appear again and again. Sometimes as comfort. Sometimes as fear. sometimes as the one person whose reaction matters more than anyone else's. They have not told you yet because they are afraid of the look in your eyes when you realize how serious this is. Afraid that you will see them differently. Afraid that you will think they are selfish, reckless, or ungrateful. But the truth is quieter and heavier. They are afraid that if they do not take this step now, they will lose themselves forever, and eventually, they will lose you anyway. This is why the timing feels intense. This is why the energy feels urgent. This is why even silence between you feels loud. A decision made in the heart does not wait politely for permission. It presses. It repeats. It demands to be honored. And right now, they are closer than ever to honoring it, even if their hands are shaking as they reach for it. You may be wondering what kind of step could carry this much weight. Why it feels final. Why it feels irreversible. It is not one single action, but a declaration. A declaration to stop living half awake. A declaration to stop postponing truth. A declaration to choose alignment over approval. This could mean changing direction in a way others never expected. It could mean speaking words they have swallowed for years. It could mean stepping into a role, a place, or a truth they once believed was impossible for them. What makes it shocking is not the act itself, but the courage behind it. People are rarely shocked by movement. They are shocked by authenticity. They are shocked when someone they thought they understood finally reveals how deep their inner world really is. And you, more than anyone, are standing close to that reveal. You will either hear it before the world does, or you will feel it when the world suddenly shifts around them. Either way, this moment will test something inside you as well. Your patience. Your compassion. Your ability to see beyond fear. Because this is not a story about loss. It is a story about truth arriving without apology. Stay with this message, because in the next part, you will begin to see what happens immediately after this step is taken. The reactions. The silence. The unexpected response from someone neither of you anticipated. And most importantly, the moment when you realize why this step had to happen now, and not later. What unfolds next will change how you see your connection forever. My beloved child. The moment after that shocking step is taken is not loud like people imagine. It is quiet. Almost unreal. The person you love does not feel instant relief or instant regret. They feel stillness, the kind that comes after a storm when the air itself seems to pause. This is where most people misunderstand what courage really looks like. Courage is not excitement. It is not confidence. It is standing in the silence after a decision and accepting that there is no return to the old version of yourself. They will replay the moment again and again in their mind, wondering if anyone noticed the exact second everything changed. From the outside, life will look almost the same. Same streets. Same messages. Same routines. But inside them, a door has closed forever, and another has opened into something unknown. This is when they think of you the most. Not when they were deciding, but after it is done. They imagine telling you. They imagine your pause before responding. They imagine your eyes searching their face for reassurance. And they imagine two possible futures. One where you understand the depth of this step. And one where you only see the surface and miss the truth beneath it. This fear does not weaken them. It sharpens them. Because for the first time, they are no longer asking who they should be. They are asking who is willing to walk beside who they truly are. What happens next will surprise you, because it does not follow the pattern you expect. The first reactions around them are confusing. Some people will act supportive but distant. Others will question them with concern disguised as care. A few will stay silent, and that silence will hurt more than criticism. The person you love will realize very quickly who was attached to their comfort and who was connected to their soul. This realization is heavy, but it is also clarifying. They will stop explaining themselves to people who only listen to respond, not to understand. And in this filtering, your presence becomes even more significant. Even if you have not spoken, even if there is physical or emotional distance, they feel you as a constant reference point. They ask themselves, if this makes sense to them, then I am not wrong. This is not dependence. This is resonance. You represent something real to them. Something honest. Something unmasked. That is why this step feels connected to you. Because deep down, they want a life where love does not require shrinking, hiding, or pretending. And whether you realize it or not, you have shown them that such a connection is possible. That is the shocking part most people never see. This step is not away from love. It is toward a version of love that demands truth. There will be a moment shortly after, when doubt tries to return. Not dramatic doubt, but quiet doubt. Late at night. Early in the morning. In the spaces between distractions. They will wonder if they misunderstood the signs. If they moved too fast. If waiting longer would have been safer. And then something unexpected will happen. A confirmation. Not from a person, but from reality itself. A coincidence that feels too precise. A conversation that answers an unspoken question. A sudden opportunity that only exists because they took this step. This is when their fear softens. This is when they realize that the universe responds to alignment faster than it responds to hesitation. And again, your energy appears in this confirmation, sometimes symbolically, sometimes literally. They may see your name. Hear a phrase you once said. Feel the same emotion they feel when they think of you. These are not accidents. These are reminders. This is life saying, you are not alone in this. And yet, they still hesitate to reach out fully, because now the risk feels higher. Before, they risked comfort. Now, they risk truth. And truth changes relationships forever. If you are feeling restless, emotional, or unusually reflective during this time, it is because your inner world is responding to theirs. Connections like this do not require constant communication to stay active. They operate beneath logic. You might find yourself remembering moments with them that once seemed ordinary but now feel meaningful. You might question conversations, wondering what they really meant. You might feel proud and scared at the same time without knowing why. This is because on a deeper level, you sense that the version of them you knew is evolving. Not disappearing. Becoming clearer. Stronger. more defined. And this change asks something of you too. Not action. Awareness. The ability to meet them without clinging to old expectations. The ability to allow them to grow without assuming it means separation. Many people mistake growth for distance. In reality, growth only creates distance from what is no longer true. If your bond is rooted in truth, it will not weaken. It will deepen. But it will feel different. Less performative. More real. And real connections require presence, not control. As this part closes, understand this clearly. The most shocking part of their step is not what they did. It is who they are becoming because they finally did it. They are stepping into a version of themselves that cannot be half known. This means conversations will carry more weight. Silence will carry more meaning. And love will demand honesty instead of comfort. In the next part, you will see how this transformation begins to affect your direct connection with them. The words they choose. The timing of their reach. And the moment when you realize that this step was never meant to push you away, but to invite you closer in a way that requires courage from both sides. My beloved child. Now the energy between you and the person you love begins to change in a way that is impossible to ignore. This is the phase where truth no longer stays hidden behind politeness or routine. After taking that shocking step, they start to speak differently. Not louder. Not softer. But with weight. Every word feels deliberate, as if they finally understand that words shape reality. You may notice pauses where there were none before. You may notice honesty slipping through sentences that once felt casual. This is not accidental. They are testing the ground. They are feeling whether the world will collapse if they stop performing. And each time it does not collapse, they grow bolder. This is when you become more than a listener in their life. You become a witness. Someone whose presence silently asks, "Will you accept the real me?" They are not looking for reassurance. They are looking for recognition. They want to know if you see the change, if you feel the difference, if you understand that something irreversible has already happened inside them. And even if neither of you names it yet, the connection tightens, because authenticity always does that. It pulls people closer, even when it scares them. There will be a moment when communication between you feels strange. Not distant. Not cold. Just unfamiliar. This is because the old patterns no longer fit the new truth. Jokes may land differently. Silence may stretch longer. Emotional exchanges may feel deeper, even when fewer words are used. This is where many people panic and misinterpret the shift. They assume something is wrong. They assume they are losing the person. But what is actually happening is refinement. The person you love is shedding versions of themselves that no longer belong in their life. And anything connected to those versions will feel slightly unstable for a while. This includes how they relate to you. Not because you are being pushed away, but because they are recalibrating how to show up honestly. They no longer want to speak just to fill space. They no longer want to promise things they are unsure they can sustain. They want alignment, not performance. And this requires patience. The kind of patience that does not demand immediate clarity, but trusts the process of becoming. During this phase, you may sense a question hanging between you, even when it is not spoken. The question is not about commitment, or direction, or labels. The question is simpler and heavier. Can we meet each other here? Here, in truth. Here, without illusion. Here, without pretending to be less complicated than we are. This question creates intensity because it removes escape routes. You cannot hide behind assumptions. You cannot rely on old dynamics. Everything feels exposed. This is why emotions may feel amplified. A small interaction may carry unexpected impact. A short message may linger longer than usual. A shared silence may feel louder than words. None of this is coincidence. This is what happens when two lives touch at a point of transformation. The person you love is not asking you to change. They are asking you to see. To witness the courage it took to step into this new chapter. And your response, even if unspoken, will matter more than you realize. At some point, they will pull back slightly. Not because they regret their step, but because they need to understand themselves in this new form before fully inviting anyone else in. This withdrawal is temporary, but meaningful. It is a self-check. A grounding moment. They are asking themselves if they can stand alone in this truth, without leaning on validation. This is important, because any connection built on truth must be chosen freely, not out of fear or need. If you feel this pause, do not rush to fill it. Do not assume rejection. Silence here is not absence. It is integration. They are aligning their inner world with their outer actions. And once that alignment settles, their return will feel different. More intentional. More present. More real. They will no longer reach out from confusion, but from clarity. And that changes everything about how the connection feels. Understand this clearly as this part comes to a close. The most powerful thing you can do right now is remain grounded in who you are. Not chasing reassurance. Not forcing conversations. Not interpreting every shift as loss. Your calm awareness creates safety. And safety is what allows truth to come forward without fear. In the next part, you will see what happens when this truth finally seeks expression between you. The conversation that carries more meaning than it seems. The realization that lands quietly but changes everything. And the moment you understand that this shocking step was not an ending, but the beginning of a connection that can only exist when both people are brave enough to be fully seen. My beloved child. There comes a moment when the truth can no longer stay unspoken, and this moment arrives softly, not with drama, but with gravity. The person you love does not announce it as a confession or a declaration. It emerges in a conversation that seems ordinary on the surface. A simple question. A shared memory. A quiet pause that lasts a second longer than usual. And in that space, something real passes between you. You feel it before you understand it. The shift. The honesty. The absence of masks. They may not describe their shocking step in full detail yet, but you sense that they are standing in a new place internally. Their words carry less defense and more intention. They are not asking for approval. They are offering transparency. This is rare. This is delicate. And this is where many connections either deepen or dissolve. Not because of what is said, but because of how it is received. Your ability to listen without trying to fix, judge, or predict becomes the bridge between who they were and who they are becoming. As the conversation unfolds, you may notice something surprising in yourself. A calm you did not expect. Or an emotion you did not prepare for. This is because part of you already knew this moment was coming. On some level, you have been waiting. Waiting for honesty to replace ambiguity. Waiting for presence to replace performance. Waiting for reality to step in where imagination once filled the gaps. This does not mean everything suddenly becomes clear. In fact, clarity arrives in layers. But something fundamental settles. The question is no longer whether change is happening. The question becomes how you both relate to it. The person you love begins to realize that they do not have to shrink their truth around you. That they can speak without fear of being misunderstood. And this realization does something profound. It relaxes them. It grounds them. It allows them to show you parts of themselves they once guarded closely. Not because they feel obligated, but because they feel safe. There is a subtle test hidden inside this phase, and most people never notice it. The test is not about loyalty or agreement. It is about presence. Can you stay emotionally available without demanding certainty? Can you hold space without controlling the outcome? Can you let the connection breathe while it transforms? The person you love is watching how you respond to the unknown. Not consciously, but instinctively. Your energy is speaking louder than your words. If you meet their truth with curiosity instead of fear, something opens. If you meet it with pressure or expectation, something closes. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. People naturally move toward where they feel accepted in their wholeness. And right now, they are deciding where that place is. Your role is not to prove anything. It is to remain authentic yourself. Truth recognizes truth. That is why this moment feels so charged. As days pass, you may notice that the connection starts to feel more intense, even if there is less constant contact. Quality replaces quantity. Depth replaces frequency. When you do interact, it feels more meaningful. More grounded. Less rushed. This is because the person you love is no longer splitting themselves between who they are and who they pretend to be.